Hey guys, what's up? This is LJS here, and today I am back with a Sentry Guard deck profile. So, Royal Paladin has a subclan, quote unquote, subclan, Sentry Guard, um, and it has a support. It has got its support from. It's gonna support from the Fighters Collection in the form of a Stride. So Sentry Guard Regalia. So because of this wonderful Stride, Sanctuary Guard Dragon deck has sort of become it's starting to become popular right now. So Royal Paladin is one of the really top tier meta decks out there because of Sling Saver and stuff. But yeah, so this deck profile is mainly about Sanctuary Guard. So this deck will focus on Sanctuary Guards. Yay, all the Sanctuary Guards. So currently there's only 3 units with Sanctuary Guard in its name. One of them is the first one was Sanctuary Guard Dragon, which is a pretty old card that can only be gotten from the Mega Trial deck, which is So the Mega Trial deck is a quite relatively old product, and it's pretty expensive. And guess what? You only get 1 copy of him, so it's pretty hard to find. But if you have him, well, build this deck. It's pretty fun. It's pretty powerful as well. But if you don't have him, you can use this other guy. So this deck is a pure Sanctuary Guard deck. So let's get to the deck profile, shall we? So first of all, for the starter, we run this guy. He is the Milius, Shining Knight Milius. So the new Royal Paladin mainly focused around Grade 2 and a lot of wonderful Grade 2 stuff. But yeah, his skill is Generation Break 1, comes 1 point in the soul, and search your deck for a Grade 2 card, call it to R, and shuffle the deck. So basically, he trades himself for a Grade 2. So, run him because right now, the Royal Paladin has a sort of combo chain that allows them to fill the full field up really well. So, he's part of the combo piece. So yeah, just run him. Then for the Grade 3s, this deck runs 4 Sanctuary Guard Dragons and 3 Sanctuary Guard Guarantee. So this deck, as I mentioned, is purely focused on the Sentry Guard because you want to make use of the new strike, which I'll cover later. There is another hybrid version where it runs Sentry Guard Dragon with Thing Saver. So that deck is sort of a hybrid, so it mixes the restanding power of Thing Saver with the power play of the Sentry Guard Strike. So anyway, let's get to Sentry Guard Dragon. So the skill is Limit Break 4. During your turn, he gains 3k for each Grade 1 or less Royal Paladin Rearguard. So basically, he is a power Vanguard. So basically, it's all about getting 3k and then pushing for power. His skill is not really that good. His second skill is when he is placed on Vanguard Circle, when you ride him basically, you discard a card, call a Grade 1 from the deck. So yeah, basically it allows you to search for Grade 1 by swapping your hand, which is pretty good, and he's 11k base. So the other Sentry Guard is your Sentry Guard Guarantee. So he is a promo card. So he is more recent, but he still might be a bit hard to find compared to him. He is really expensive now. But his skill is almost the same as Sanctuary Guard Dragon, but instead of Limit Break 4, it's Generation Break 1. So Generation Break 1, he gains 3k for each Grade 1 or less rear guards. Yeah, cool. And his second skill is when he attacks, Counterblast 1 gains 3k, which you don't use at all. So ideally you want to ride him, because he has 11k base defense, whereas he is 10k base. But either way, you can ride either of them, because they're both Sanctuary Guard, and you want your Vanguard to have Sentry Guard in its name, because that's what this deck is about. So for the Grade 2s, we have a wonderful OP, hard to find card, Jewel Knight Sword Me. So every Royal Paladin deck is running Sword Me now because, number 1, it nets you a column very easily, and number 2, it is not restricted by any sort of timing issues. So meaning the moment you call him out, you can use skill. It's not locked under Generation Break 1. So he has potential for rush. So basically, Jewel Knight, his skill is when you call him on Rearguard Circle, you must have special Counterblast 1, meaning you Counterblast a Jewel Knight in its name. Search your deck for a Grade 1 Jewel Knight, call it to R, and shuffle your deck. So basically, you just call him a special Counterblast 1 Jewel Knight, call a Jewel Knight out, and you have 1 column, which is pretty good for a Counterblast 1. It's pretty good, and you can actually do some early game shenanigans. So you can actually do like, well, great turn 2 rush. You have a full field and rush your opponent down, and it is really, really, I guess, good. Yeah. So run him. he's sort of right now a staple right now in all Royal Paladins deck because he sort of gave Royal Paladin a really powerful tool. So next, I run 3 of the Knight of Twin Sword. So he's the Ember clone. Basically, his skill is Generation Break 1. When he attacks Vanguard, if he's boosted, counterblast 1. If you do such a deck for a grade 2, not name him, and call it to R. So he is used, number 1, to gain pluses. But number 2, he can also be used as a combo to get multiple attacks. So let's just say you have your column like this, and you attack with him, this column. Attack, counterblast 1, boost, call a grade 2 from the deck on it. Then here you have another attack. So you can have 4 attacks. Now, combine this combo with the Sanctuary Guard Stride, which I'll explain later, you can have massive columns with, 4 attacks each turn, which is amazing, I guess. Pretty good. Next, I run 2 of the Starlight Violinist. So he's not Generation Break, so it's good, so you can use him in early game. So his skill is when you write him or you call him, you can counterblast 1 and soul blast 1, call a grade 2 from your deck and shuffle your deck. So he is 8k base, but he is very good for early game pluses. So one combo you can do is maybe write him, call a Swap Me Out, use Swap Me skill, call a grade 1. So in the end, you have counterblast 1, counterblast 2, and soul blast 1 for a full column, which is pretty good actually. Also, he's also useful, maybe to call him out later on to get more pluses and more calls, I guess. But yeah, there's 2 of him. Next, I run 2 Transmigration Knight Bread. So he is the Generation Break 1 12k attacker. So basically when he attacks the Vanguard, he gains 3k. I don't run the Jewel Knight, I think Shelly, the 12k attacker, because this deck doesn't have enough Jewel Knights to make it consistent. So using him is a lot more consistent to have a 12k attacker to Vanguard. And if you combine it with the Stride, which I'll mention later, he will swing for 21k by himself. So it's pretty good. Next, I just run tech card. This is my personal tech choice, Blaster Blade Spirit. So he is number 1, 10k base. I'm running him because he's 10k base. So if you write him, you have a nice turn 2 10k base defense against your opponent. And his skill is when he is placed on R from your deck, counterblast 1, and you can retire one of your opponent's grade 2 or greater rearguard. So if he is an annoying rearguard you want to kill, you can basically call him from the deck. And the thing is, this deck has a lot of things he can call from the deck. You have his skill to help you call from the deck. You have his skill to help you call from the deck. And with that, you can call him out and kill something. Yeah. And his other downside is that if he's attacked, he dies, regardless. So basically, at the end of the turn of the battle, that this unit attack, retire this unit. So because he is a spirit, and spirits die to attacks, I guess. Then for grade 1s, I run 4 Perfect Guards. I run the Jewel Knight Perfect Guard because I don't really think this deck needs to unflip. You can run the Unflipper if you want, but I'm running her for 2 main reasons. Number 1, she's a Jewel Knight because Swap Me skill requires you to a special counterblast, so you must counterblast something with Jewel Knight in its name. And number 2, sometimes you want to actually protect your rear guards because Royal Paladin, as I mentioned, this deck has really powerful plays, so you want your rear guards to put pressure on your opponent. Next, I run 4 of the Lower Knight Sicilius, so he's your strike fodder. So basically, his first skill, we don't care about his first skill. His important skill is his second one. When you discard him as cost for stride, he's grade 3. So basically, you can just discard him to stride. Next, I run 3 Jewel Knight Cymbeline. So this card is pretty interesting. So when you call him out to R, you can rest him. If you do, you give one of your other units with Jewel Knight in his card name 10k. So his skill is, I say, it's pretty interesting. You can choose to use it or not use it. So one example is that early game, you can, if you have sort of a grade 1 already on field and you want to call him out, you can use his skill to call her somewhere, rest it, and give his column 10k. So if you can't, for example, if you can't form a full column, you can at least power up one other column. Or if you want to do some combo attacks, there are some potentials as well to have powerful columns. But yeah, so 3 of him. 10k is actually a pretty good number. So yeah. Next, I run 2 of the Jewel Knight Saber Me. So he's your limit break remover. So he is useful, I guess, because he removes his limit break skill. So in case on turns you don't strike, at least you have his main skill to push for huge numbers. So yeah, and he's a Jewel Knight as well. So having more Jewel Knights is good, and because Sword Me needs Grade 1 Jewel Knights to call out. And he also needs a special counterblast. Then I run one tech card, the Hidden Sage Miron. So his skill is when this unit is placed on Regalia circle from your deck, so +1 draw a card. So basically he's the Josephus Staff clone. So I only run one of her because the only card that can call a Grade 1 from deck is Sanctuary Guard Dragon. So if you remember, his second skill is when you write him, you can discard a card and call a Grade 1 from your deck. So this is what I normally do. Write him, discard a card, call from deck, so +1 draw a card. So you actually +1 from that. So it's pretty good. Although she is a 6k, so normally what you do is when you call her to behind your Vanguard, because most of the Grade 2s here are only 9k, and 6k with 9k doesn't make any nice number. Yeah. The only nice number it makes with Blossom Spirit and Birthday, but don't count on it. So for triggers, I run 4 Jewel Knight crit, 8 Jewel Knight crits, 2 other crit. So total I run 10 crit, 2 Jewel Knight draws, and 4 Jewel Knight heals. So make sure your triggers are Jewel Knights because you want to maximize your ability to special counterblast for Sword Me skill. Because Sword Me is one of the very key cards in this deck. If you want to, you can swap these 2 out for crits as well. So you can actually run 12 crits. And for those of you who don't know, in GPT-04 there will be a new Jewel Knight crit. So when that comes out, I'll definitely run 12 crit for this deck. Because this deck is made for power plays, so you want to be as offensive as possible. Next, so for stride, I run 4 Sanctuary Guard Regalia. So this is your main stride of the deck, one of the main ones. So his skill is basically, if you have a heart with Sanctuary Guard in his name, which is one of these two, your whole front row gains 3k for each Grade 1 or less rear guard. So if your field is full, you have 3 Grade 1s, your whole front row gains 9k. And as I mentioned earlier, a 12k attacker is good because 9k plus 12, it is 21. 21k by himself without unboosted. So normally what you do is you can have a turn where you have 4 attacks of more than 20k. So let's just say you have your field is like this, and some Grade 1 boosters behind it, and you have this guy here, right? Let's focus it. So what you do is you swing with this first. This is 20k if you have 3 Grade 1s. Then you swing with this. Use his skill to call a Grade 2, which is Birthday, over your other Grade 2. And he himself, by himself, is 21k, which is amazing if you have 3 Grade 1s, that is. So also, if you want to, you can also have 5 Grade 1s on the field if you want. Then everyone gains 15k. Or if you want, you can have 4 Grade 1s and everyone gains 12k, which is also a pretty good number. So yeah, run 4 of him. Next, I run 2 Saint Blow Dragon. If you want to, you can mess with the ratios of the stride because the Royal Paladin strides are pretty flexible. You don't have to have these exact numbers. You can actually run 3 Sanctuary Guard if you want. But this deck is mainly revolves around Sanctuary Guard, so running 4 is good. If you want to play the hybrid Sanctuary Guard Thing Saver, I think running 2 or 3 of him is fine because you don't want to count on having to write Sanctuary Guard. If not, because if you don't write Sanctuary Guard, this strike is useless. So Saint Blow Dragon's skill is when he attacks. Oh no, act skill. Sorry, act. Okay, so his skill is Persona Flip. So flip one of your face up. He gains 3k for every rear guard you have until end of turn. And if you have 2 or more G units in your G zone, he gains a crit. So basically, he can potentially swing for, I think, 43, if I'm not mistaken, with a crit. So he's probably your 2nd or 3rd or 4th, right, depending on the state of game. So if you know your opponent does not have a perfect guard, use him because he will be almost impossible to guard unless you have a lot of guard or you have a perfect guard. So yeah, he's a very good sort of a finisher in case. Yeah, I guess. Next, I run 1 Goblet. So his skill is when his unit attack hits a Vanguard, Search your deck for a grade 2, call it to R. Grade 2 or greater card, call it to R. So you can call a lot of your grade 2 shenanigans, yeah. And lastly, I run one of this guy, Giron, whatever his name is, yeah. So his skill is, when you strike him, you can call a unit from your hand and choose one of your units against 5k. So basically, if I run him because if somehow you don't have a chance to make your your field full yet, and you can't capitalize on him, you can write him, and if you have Sword Me in your hand, you can basically strike him, use him to call Sword Me out, give him 5k, and then you can use him to call a grade 1 somewhere else. So you can sort of distribute power and make, you know, decent push if your field is not ready for Sanctuary Guard skill. So yeah, so this is the strike I use. You can also swap around with the strides to use the other guy, Samuel, the one that gives damage. But that one would be quite counterblast heavy, so I don't really recommend it. You can also make it force same blows if you want, and sort of cut out some of the strides. But this is the build I go for. So yeah, so this is my Sanctuary Guard Dragon, Sanctuary Guard deck profile. This is a very sort of power play deck, and I can foresee that it will it's sort of like it's a pretty good deck actually, yeah. So yeah, so this is my deck profile. Hope you like it. If you do, thumbs up. If you like my content, do subscribe. And this has been LJS, and I'll see you guys next time.